Hello and welcome to The Gavel, coming to you from Channels TV studios in Abuja. I am Terry Ikumi. Now, on the 24th of March, the Senate embarked on its Easter break. And on the 25th, the House of Representatives followed suit. However, some committees of both chambers continued their legislative duties. This week on The Gavel, we begin with the interaction between the House Committee on Customs and the Controller General of the Nigeria Customs Service. The meeting was mainly to discuss the 2021 budget and revenue target of customs. Lawmakers, however, seized the opportunity to raise other pressing issues such as national security, smuggling of cars into the country through the land borders, and the controversy surrounding payment of customs duty. Here's a detailed report. During the Budget Defense session of the Nigeria Customs Service before the House of Representatives Committee on Customs and Excise, the conversation went beyond the figures.
Saying that it is illegal to bring...
Members of the committee were concerned about the issue of smuggling of cars into the country.
If we can remove that law that says you cannot bring in vehicles into Nigeria through the border, whereas I'm from Alimosho, we have many routes where the smugglers brought in many vehicles from the Republic of Benin. And what we find out is that they are paying some customs through some routes that is not known to the public. If this thing can be cancelled, that you can bring in the vehicles through the main border, that there won't be problem with the custom. If they can remove that law, that will increase the money made by the custom every year, because the vehicles are still coming in through Republic of Benin. And they are passing many routes in like Badagry and Limosho every day.
The e-custom that we envisage will come into effect very soon has as part of its component 135 scanners that will be deployed in all our ports, that is sea, air, and land borders. So if we systematically take this, and by God's grace we are able to effect this, then in the next 1 or 2 years, the issue of scanners will be forgone, and our own trade facilitation process will improve. In fact, we'll pick up. And then we believe that the influx of arms that comes through approved route, and I repeat this, approved route, will completely be eliminated, because then we have the instrument to be able to detect these things in the containers or in whatever package they are.
Expectedly, there were queries on the role of customs in national security.
When it comes to 6 o'clock in the evening, most of the posts that are manning the border outpost and the main borders, they went to sleep, and they leave. Excuse me, they close for the day, and they leave it to smugglers and the bandits. That is why there is cross infiltration in this country. So most of the borders, if you go to Sokoto, if you go to Katsina, if you go to Jigawa, if you go to all the borders of this country, this is the naked truth. And as a matter of fact, we need to have a holistic approach to that, Mr. Chairman, because we are hoping to make this Nigeria peaceful and responsive.
The issue of influx of arms in this country does not come through the approved route alone. Some are carried on the back of donkeys through the unapproved route. Some are carried on the back of motorcycles through the approved routes, and some of these communities that live in the borders are part of the scheme of moving these things into the country.
The Controller General also expressed worry that customs officers were constantly being attacked across the country.
We have recently lost officers and our vehicles. In fact, for vehicles, I've stopped counting, because every day, every 2 days, I will have a report that our vehicles have been burnt. By who? By hoodlums in conjunction with smugglers. And these are border communities. So when we come and we talk about our interests in the border? What are we doing to also tell our constituencies that they must conform with the laws? They must follow the trend of events. In some places, as far as smuggling is concerned, they don't even know that it is wrong, it's against the law. It has happened. In Congolam, when I went on visitation, after talking to the communities, I saw a woman and she greeted me and I asked her, why is your husband? She said he has traveled. I said, what does he do for a living? She said, don't smuggle me. You know? What he does is smuggling. So as far as they are concerned, they don't even really know what is the difference between smuggle and it's a way of life.
Like many Nigerians, the ease of confirmation of papers for duty paid was a pain in the neck of the lawmakers, as well as the payment for accurate duty, as they queried the computation of duty to be paid on imported vehicles.
Once you brought a car into Nigerian port, you pay your custom duty, your car is being cleared out. Immediately you come out, even within Apapa, you will find some custom officers. They will stop you along the way, they will say, okay, this is underpayment. And you still have to pay them 200, 300,000 before they release your car for you to move on. If you come down to Abeokuta, they will say, okay, this is underpayment. So what is the problem? Who is underpaying who? It's the same officers that release this car. And the same officers are saying that this is underpayment. And the same officer will collect kickbacks and allow this car to go. This is a very wrong move. People, car dealers wanted to import their car through the port, but this is actually what they happen. All these officers in uniform, they know what is happening. They have been there once. They just become officers here. They were there at the port, they know what is going on. So I think the issue, if a person brought a car through the Nigerian port, I think there is no way or no reason why any other custom officer will say you are paying underpayment.
There are cloned custom documents going about. Agents will connive with the officers. When you pay as an importer, you give him the correct duty, he will calculate the correct amount of the duty you are supposed to pay with all charges. He gives you, and you give him the money. He will go and connive with a custom officer and reduce the distance. And then they clone the paper, and you take the vehicle out. For the FOU chap, as far as is concerned, that paper you presented did not meet the requisite requirement. That happens sometimes to innocent importers. There are also importers who connive directly with the agents and reduce the duty. And then expect that that paper, when it's out, that is done. It's not like Bible and Quran, no. It's subject to checking. And if we discover that the value of the car that you are riding is not commensurate with the duty you paid, then the question, why we are restricting the importation of vehicles through the ports is because that is where we can properly scrutinize these vehicles. Secondly, even if you open the land borders, I will tell you not 0.0001% of those cars that comes into this country through the borders will all go through the route, the approved route. The reason why they take these cars to Cotonou is to evade duty. It's not because of anything, it's to evade duty. And therefore, because you said they should bring it through the land border, they will not bring it through the land border. They will still follow those unapproved route. We are working with the Customs Administration in Benin Republic to see how we can ensure the adherence to the ETLS protocol, which is transit goods escort. Once we agree with them and they are ready to enforce it, there's no goods that is meant for Nigeria that will land at their port that will find its way out of this. They will escort it and hand it over to our own custom. That's what it's supposed to be. That's what the law says. But it is the failure of this that is causing the smuggling.
I want to suggest to custom, this issue of disparity of duty of underpayment, you have to do something about it. And then you have to develop an app all these vehicles, there's age limit, agreed. 7 years old, or more than 7 years old must not come into the country, yes. So from that age, in that app, duty to be paid on each vehicle should be there, so that anybody who is buying the vehicle already know what is going to pay. It's not that they will go and give it to agent will now reduce duty, and then they come out. Then another thing I want to say is about the FOU. That's why we need this, your SEMA, to come, this Custom and Excise Management Act, for us to amend it quickly, because you are operating, it's like you are operating without law now. We need it to come so that we can amend it. FOU stand at the gate of the port, and I don't think that is what the SEMA says. They are within the perimeter of the port. If they want to operate, it should be on the, maybe like 100, 200 kilometers away from that port. But immediately after the gate of the port, they are there, position their vehicles. It's not the way it is. Some of them, they have genuine papers, but FOU still want to get something because they are not inside the port. So this is what we need to discourage, and that is why you need to develop this app on time, so that whoever pays correctly, even without going to port, he knows he has paid correctly. Nobody can ask him for anything, so it can raise alarm.
The committee then approved the 2021 revenue target of the Nigeria Customs Service, even though the Controller General had proposed a lower target.
It is now concluded that we have come to the end of this budget hearing, and on this note, at committee level, we have approved the budget of Nigeria Customs 1.679 trillion for 2021.
The Southeast Caucus of the Senate has charged the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Mohammed Adamu, and heads of the nation's security agencies to urgently fish out those responsible for the recent killing of people in Ebonyi State communities, insisting that it must not go unsolved and unpunished like others before it. Members of the caucus, in a statement by the caucus leader and former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, described the act as gruesome, warning that the nation is fast delegitimizing itself by its failure to discharge the primary purpose of government, which is the security and welfare of the people. Now, they further lamented that widespread killings and all manner of violent crimes across the country have continued to worsen because the perpetrators are never arrested. The lawmakers want the perpetrators to face justice, noting that to do otherwise will amount to further loss of government's exclusive power of coercion to non-state actors and brigands, leaving citizens with no option than to further resort to self-help. Meanwhile, the Deputy Minority Leader of the House of Representatives, Toby Okechukwu, says the recent killings in Ebonyi State, the attack on former Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, and the prevailing killings across the country are ominous indications that things are falling apart. In a statement he issued in Abuja on Thursday, Representative Okechukwu warned that the country was already neck-deep into a season of anomie, which, if not immediately arrested, would spell doom for the country. While condemning the recent massacre in Ebonyi State communities and the attack at an event in Anambra, which left 3 policemen attached to former CBN Governor Professor Soludo dead, he stressed that time was overdue to breathe life into the report of the 2014 National Conference and the Governor Nasir El-Rufai All Progressives Congress Committee on True Federalism, both of which he said favored state police, the answer to the rising insecurity in the country. Now, according to him, this continuous carnage, as evident from the attack in Ebonyi, is a clear indication that things are really falling apart. This massacre of hapless citizens is another sad reminder that we are in a season of anomie, where innocent people are unexpectedly mowed down in cold blood without consequences. He goes further to say the advertent or inadvertent encouragement of ethnic militias to levy war on all parts of the country is a clear manifestation of a nation-state that has abdicated its responsibility to protect lives and property of her citizens. Well, we'll take a break and we'll be right back. Please stay with us. Well, Welcome back to the Gavel. Our next report is on the proposed loans by the federal government, which the National Assembly is questioning. There were interactions between the concerned ministries and various committees of the upper and lower chambers.
To discuss the federal government's 2016 to 2018 external borrowing plan, the Ministries of Agriculture, Finance and the Debt Management Office were before the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debts. The committee is requesting to know what the €995 million and $1.5 million foreign loans will be used for.
The request of Mr. President is in compliance with the provisions of the Debt Management Office Act 2003 and the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007, which both enjoy the federal government to seek and obtain the approval of the National Assembly before obtaining external loans on behalf of the Federation and the states. It will interest you to note that we were able to approve item A, but for item B and C, it was not possible because of lack of proper information as to what that money will be used for.
The Minister of Agriculture explained that the loan will be used for an agricultural program to provide mechanized farming for optimized food production in the country.
This program of green imperative, an understanding between the Brazilian government and Nigerian government to promote agricultural mechanization in this country, was probably signed about 5 years ago. And since then, a lot of has been going on between these two countries to ensure the implementation and the success of this very important program, the Green Imperative. This is intended to provide at least 10,000 tractors over the next 3 years and another set of 10,000 tractors in another 3 years. So that at least on the ground, through this initiative, over a period of 5 to 6 years, we may have additional 20,000 tractors into this country.
However, committee members were worried about the implementation of the program, but the minister tried to assuage their fears.
A lot of efforts have been put in the past towards the issue of mechanization, but I must say here, without any fear of contradiction, that it has not actually benefited the real farmers. And we want to know, how will this program be different from other previous programs? My concern here is that you have not even been able to identify the real farmers.
We are talking about those who are going to use the tractors or they are not trained. The 300 tractors, I can tell you that hardly can you find even 50 in Osun State today. Also in Borno, it was done around 2009, between 2007 and 2009, and they acquired about 600 tractors and implements. In fact, those ones did not even, it didn't last 3 months. And it's because of handling. There is what is known as tractor services and applications.
Yes, we know why our farmers are now. Within the last, it's not up to a year, we have registered 5.8 million farmers across the country. Service centers will be established across about 632 local governments. In addition to that, there will be a processing plant of about 140. Virtually every local government in this country is going to be affected. How do you organize that? You organize along the line of the service centers. You will have a director, hiring scheme, an IT office, a store, and a mechanical workshop.
On the $1.5 billion loan being sought for the 36 states government and the Federal Capital Territory for infrastructure to manage the COVID-19 pandemic, the committee chairman directed the Director General of the Debt Management Office to furnish them with the document relating to the creditworthiness of the states. The Minister of Agriculture is also to provide the committee with details of the planned execution of the Green Imperative program, which the loan is sought for. Meanwhile, the House Committee on AIDS and Loans also met with the Ministries of Finance and Agriculture in respect of the federal government's priority projects and states' intervention projects to be financed through external loans to address the impact of COVID-19 under the 2020-2021 External Borrowing Plan.
He did include this.
Corporate.
Yes.
Corporate was one of it.
It was not included in the letter the president sent to us. We only have these two.
The sifters and NKS.
Yes. This is the two we have.
Yes.
In the letter.
The sifters.
Yes.
Is being implemented at the state level, but coordinated in the Ministry of Finance.
Okay.
So we just disburse based on disbursement link indicators. And I'll read out some of the indicators in a minute.
That means you had approval already.
Yes.
For the STF.
For the sifters.
Yes.
Yes, the original sifters had been approved.
By
FED and by NAS. This is an additional financing.
Okay.
The additional financing came about because of COVID-19.
Now let's take a look at some other events during the week under review, including the Senate President's call for resources to be channeled towards production of vaccines.
To the rostrum. Your Excellency, sir.
Senate President Ahmed Lawan is asking the federal government to explore the option of collaborating with international agencies and Nigerian scientists abroad to develop the country's own vaccine. He notes that production of vaccines in Nigeria is of utmost importance, particularly because the country has a large population which must be vaccinated to manage the pandemic. Senator Lawan shared these thoughts during the presentation of a research work in the National Assembly.
Nigeria may not achieve the herd immunity in the next 4 or 5 years with our 200 million population. And this is not a fact based on any scientific research. I don't want to be misquoted. I'm assuming that if it will take the US up to probably the end of this year to achieve 70–75% of vaccination for those that are within the age bracket, some countries, developed countries, may be looking at next year with our 200 million or even more. And so far we have only about 4 million. I don't know how we can get 70% of our people vaccinated, and that will translate into about 150 million or even more to vaccinate them in the next 2 years or even 3 years. So we need to work hard, provide the legislative intervention in terms of resources and environment for our scientists to work.
The Senate Committee on the Federal Capital Territory is querying the Executive Chairman of the FCT Internal Revenue Service, Abdullah Atta, over its proposed remittance of 1 billion naira to the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, from its projected revenue collection. The committee made its observation when Mr. Atta appeared before members to defend his agency's 2021 budget proposal. The chairman of the committee, Senator Abubakar Kyari, expressed dissatisfaction with the explanation from the executive chairman that the proposed remittance is for the payment of salaries of 117 FIRS staff who are collaborating with the agency to generate revenue.
We have agreed on that since last year, January 2020, in your last budget defense of 2020. We have agreed that nothing more will be paid to FIRS. They are not to collect anything on your behalf. We have given you all the support that you require, 100%, and then you are still charging 1 billion again to go to FIRS. For what? And I think that is why the Ministry of FCT is not even capturing or recognizing anything by FIRS. That collection that you are talking about, they are not making any efforts to go out and collect on your behalf.
Well, that's all the time we have on the Gavel this week. The National Assembly is to resume on the 13th of April. Send feedback to thegavel@channelstv.com. I am Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.